This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Warrenville Public Works and Infrastructure Committee of the Whole. It is Monday, December 12th. Welcome to City Hall, and if you're listening virtually. The Committee of the Whole meeting will be conducted in the traditional in-person format at the location listed above. The public may view the meeting virtually using the GoToMeeting. Please note that the public comment will only be available in person during the meeting. The remote meeting access is for viewing purposes only. Those viewing the meeting remotely will not be able to provide public comment via the remote meeting access. Okay, may we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Brummel is absent. Alderman Ashour?
Here.
Alderman Berry?
Here?
Alderman Davalos?
Here.
Alderman Goodman?
Here.
Alderman Krischel?
Here.
Alderman Kruckenberg?
Here.
Alderman Lockett?
Here.
Alderman Widener?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Now, if everyone would please stand, if you're able, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't know if we have anyone signed up for citizens' comments. I know Jean Marie Koth, who is the chairperson of the EAC, is here, but she's here and she would like to speak on item number 5, which is the city tree management program. So if there's anyone else that's here that would like to make a comment, if you'd please come up. No? Okay. Officials and staff comment. Alderman Goodman.
I just wanted to thank everybody who worked on the recent holidays event. That was great. I've seen so many people as I come back and forth to City Hall and the library, stopping to enjoy the holiday tree decorations in the Veterans Memorial area. Some of them stopping in their car to look at the trees, which they shouldn't do. It's not quite safe, but it's clear that people are enjoying the community effort. And I want to thank all the organizations that decorated the trees and put in their time to make our downtown welcoming and festive. It's nice to see all the lights at this cold, dark time of year.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'd like to do myself thank Public Works. Since this is the Public Works meeting, I would like to thank them for all their hard work during these last few weeks for the decorations. It's all the lights on the trees and everything really look good, and I know that the citizens of Warrenville very much appreciate all their hard work, so thank you. Anyone else? Okay, staff? Nope. Okay. And since the mayor's not here, we have no comment from him. I guess we'll go on to the business of the meeting. The first item is the consideration of consultant contract to conduct a community survey. That would be the Administrator, Christina White.
Demoting me already. Okay. The National Community Survey is a premier survey instrument that's used across the country and endorsed by both the International City and County Management Association and the National League of Cities. That is the instrument that I'm proposing for our community survey this year for a total cost of $23,550. Purpose of the survey is to gather data to inform our future strategic planning efforts. It is a scientifically validated survey that's mailed out to a sample set of the community, so not everyone would get a survey, only a select few. And then additionally, at the end of about a 3-week period, they would open up the survey to anyone who wants to complete it, and that would include stakeholders, elected and appointed officials, and anybody else in the community that might want to complete the survey. There is additional information and details in the backup of your packet. Beyond getting a recommendation to the City Council for approval of the agreement with Polco, who administers the National Community Survey, I'm also asking for 2 elected officials to join a strategic planning work group that would help provide feedback on the results of the survey data as well as the process for next year's strategic plan. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments? Alderman Goodman?
Yes, I just wondered if any staff had worked with this company before, or if we know any other surrounding communities who have.
Staff has not worked with this company before, but there are some communities that have, and that is included in your backup. I believe the Lombard was one of them, Schaumburg, and there are a couple of others, Glen Ellen.
Okay, and do we know what their experience was with them, if they had a positive?
Yes, they had positive interaction with the company.
Okay, that's very good to hear. I have to really thank staff for finding an option that's only just a little bit over half of the budgeted cost that we were predicting for this, which is wonderful. I really appreciate it when we're able to manage that and manage our consultant costs in an efficient way. So thank you to staff for that.
Any other questions, comments? Do we have any aldermen Alderman Davalos?
I'm not volunteering, but I'm just asking. And my first clarifying question is, what, is this 3 month, 6 month, year, 2-year commitment? What do you envision that being at this point?
For the work group? Yes. The initial survey is going to be about 4 months total timeline, so the survey results would happen sometime in April, May, is what we're anticipating. There would probably be a total of 3 or 4 work group meetings to lay out the process of the strategic plan, potentially discuss stakeholder groups and review any RFP results for that, which would be next year. So I'm thinking 4 meetings total over the course of maybe 6 to 8 months.
Do we have any aldermen who are interested in being on this work group?
Can I ask another clarifying question?
Oh, go right ahead.
Sorry. Daytime meetings, evening meetings, what are you thinking at this point?
Probably daytime, but we could accommodate evening meetings if that.
Okay.
Alderman Lockett?
I would like to volunteer. They will have me.
Okay. And Alderman Widener?
Yeah, I would volunteer if there's no other interested council members.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
To both of you. Okay, Alderman Goodman?
That being the case, I will make a motion to recommend the City Council pass a resolution approving an agreement with Polco to administer the National Community Survey and designate Alderman Widener and Lockett to serve on the Strategic Planning Work Group.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Goodman and a second by Alderman Davalos. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. And thank you very much to Alderman Lockett and Alderman Widener for volunteering, giving up their time. I know it's very precious to them, so it's a good thing. So, on to number 2, consideration of a contract to add a dump truck body to a new cab and chassis. This would be Public Works Director Phil Kukler. Oh, I'm sorry, it is Kristen Youngmeyer, who is our management analyst.
Good evening. So as part of the capital maintenance and replacement plan, the city ordered a cab and chassis for a plow truck about a little over a year ago. And they also obtained a proposal to build out the body of the truck. At the time of the order last year, delivery was estimated to take at least a year, so plans were made to purchase the dump body separately. So we're looking at, for tonight, a draft resolution and proposal for the purchase of a dump truck body build-out, which is included in your backup materials. So if you have any questions, we'd be happy to take them.
Okay, any questions or comments? Alderman Widener?
I do not have any questions or comments, and I think this becomes kind of commonplace for the city to do this type of thing. They've done it before, and I think it saves us money in the long run and is an efficient way to accomplish equipment needs for the Public Works Department. So with that, I make a motion to recommend the City Council pass a resolution approving the purchase of a dump body for a Public Works dump truck from Monroe Truck Equipment.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Widener and a second by Alderman Lockett. Alderman Kruckenberg, you had your hand raised?
I did. I had just a quick question about, do we have the cab and chassis? Has that been delivered yet? And then when would we have the dump available to be delivered and up and running? What's the time frame?
Right now, Rush Truck Center is telling us the first quarter of next year. And that's all I have.
Yes.
Okay.
You have the mic on, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
First quarter of '23 is what they're predicting.
Yeah. That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Since we have a motion and a second, all those in favor?
I'm
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Number 3, consideration of Stony Park Storm Sewer Lift Station Control Panel purchase. And again, we have Management Analyst Kristen Youngmeyer.
Hello again. As part of the ongoing update for the Cerny Park Stormwater Lift Station, the control panel is in need of replacement. Staff is recommending to waive competitive bidding to purchase the control panel equipment from a single source, so it's consistent with the other lift station control panels. This proposed purchase was not specifically included in the fiscal year 2023 budget, but due to a delay with the Square Courts resurfacing project that was budgeted in 2023, there is now sufficient funding left in the budget to pay for this expenditure. Again, in your backup, there is a resolution and quote for the control panel, and if you have any questions, we'd be happy to take them.
Any questions? Well, Alderman Goodman, you had your hand?
Yes, seeing no questions, I would like to make a motion to recommend the City Council pass a resolution waiving competitive bidding and approving the purchase of a control panel from Metropolitan Pump Company for the Cerny Park Lift Station.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Goodman and a second by Alderman Kruckenberg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. This is going by quite quickly. Number 4, consideration of an engineering design contract for well number 13 and water tower. Public Works Director Phil Kugler.
Thank you and good evening. Engineering Enterprises has been assisting the city with the design engineering and for the proposed water tower and well site, and also the zoning and property acquisition processes. When City Council approved the zoning last week, staff has been working with the city attorney to schedule closings on the 2 properties. So we also requested that EEI develop proposals for the work that's remaining so we can get these projects out to bid next year. They developed a $286,000 proposal that's included with the agenda backup materials, and that's for engineering design and development of bid documents for the water tower and the well projects, as well as some of the site work on the Estes property for the well site. Approximately $61,000 of that proposal is for the evaluation and monitoring of the nearby private residential wells, which is something we committed to as part of the zoning approvals. EEI is gonna assist staff with that. There's gonna be a lot of staff effort in collecting that information, but EEI is gonna assist us with that. And as we work through that process, there's gonna be a couple of years of this beyond once, this is for the first portion of it, but there'll be a couple more years of this in a future proposal to continue monitoring these wells over time so we can determine whether there are any impacts by our new well that's gonna be drilled. The contract will be paid for with bond funds when we go out for a bond issue next year, and those bond funds will ultimately be repaid with TIF 4 funds when the time comes. With that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you. Alderman Lockett?
So for the hourly contract, that's $61,000. That's just for the residents on Estes or any resident that might be affected. Their well might be affected, correct?
Yeah, there's the residents on Estes and Briggs.
Briggs. So depending on what gets determined, would it be safe to say that that is probably going to be the cost plus or minus moving forward after the pumping station and the water tower are built? in order for us to continue to monitor them?
Yeah, it's probably close to what it's gonna cost in the future. It'll be 2 years of monitoring that will occur after our equipment, after our infrastructure all goes online. And I think we committed to looking at that periodically, and we're not gonna look at all 30 or 26 wells that are in the area. We're gonna strategically, based on the beginning of this, determine maybe 12 to 15 wells to monitor to see how the water levels are doing. So yeah, we'd probably be looking at another $60,000 in a future contract for the 2 years after the stuff goes online.
Okay, so it'd be about 61,000 per year to continue to monitor those wells.
It'd probably be 61,000 for the additional 2 years. So
Okay.
probably about a total of about 120,000.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Alderman Goodman?
I mean, just reading some of the task descriptions of this $61,000 breakdown, quite a few of these more expensive tasks have to do with identifying and preparing map of all private wells, research well specifics, develop monitoring plan, and meeting with city staff. I mean, those 3 things alone are about $15,000. Surely that's not an every year.
No, it's not. That's for the initial setup. And there'll be some continued documentation after that, but those items are not an every year thing.
Okay, so then it wouldn't be $61,000 every year? I mean, it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, it's gonna depend on the amount of the amount of effort that they have to put into it and how much staff is available to do the work. If we can do more of it ourselves, if the utility division staff is available to do it, they'll take on the bulk of that work. This is EEI's best guess at this point as to how much effort they're gonna put into this.
Okay. But not a projection for what the costs would be going forward?
No, it's definitely, this includes up to, I think this includes the initial year of monitoring things quarterly. It doesn't include the monitoring the wells carefully when we're actually pumping our new well and testing that.
Okay. I mean, yeah, quite a few of these tasks look to me like they would only need to be done once. Meetings and discussions with city staff defining detrimental impacts they have down for $7,600. If that had to be done every year, that would be pretty
Correct.
obnoxious.
No, that's not every year.
Okay, my other question just has to do with what exactly we're approving. Maybe this is more of a budgetary question. The budgetary impact mentions a budget amendment, but this isn't the budget amendment. That'll be voted on again at a later time, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. We need a motion. Alderman Goodman?
I'll make a motion to recommend the City Council pass a resolution approving a professional services agreement with Engineering Enterprises Incorporated for design and monitoring services relating to the proposed well number 13 project at 30 West, 121 Estes Street, and the proposed water tower project on the Thornton site at 3 South 660 Route 59.
Second?
That was a motion by Alderman Goodman and a second by Alderman, I didn't get that, Lockett? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Number 5, consideration of changes to the city tree management and planting program. Jean Marie, would you like to make your comment now or wait till the presentation is made? Okay. So that would be, again, Public Works Director Phil Kukler.
Thank you. In order to increase the city's parkway tree canopy, staff was asked to evaluate the city's current practices and make recommendations on improvements if going forward. Alderman Widener had submitted a budget consideration request in November, and we've included that as an attachment to my memo that's included with the agenda backup materials. Staff did meet with Alderman Widener last week to discuss the 2 proposals because in terms of outcomes, they're very similar. We were looking to plant about 100 trees a year. They just differed a little bit in how we got there. So we met last week and talked through it and came to the conclusion that staff's recommendation would be a good place to start the program with, and then over the years we'll evaluate how things are going, and I'm sure the program will evolve over time too as we find challenges and opportunities to change things. So You may recall last winter that staff already made an adjustment to the amount of tree pruning we do each year. We, with last winter, we spent, I think, like 1,200 hours pruning like 750 trees just to get a feel for how many trees we could prune during the winter. We typically averaged about 330 trees a year pruning, and our goal with the Davy Resource Report was to get our trees on a 5-year pruning cycle, which would mean pruning about 660 trees a year, which is double what we normally do. After last winter, we've determined that we've got the capacity to do that, so we're proposing to continue that 5-year cycle going forward with our parkway trees. We're going to continue to utilize our landscape contractor for Route 56 to prune the trees out there. They've been doing that the last few years, and given the traffic out there and dealing with everything in the right-of-way, that we've already got a contractor that's working out there and that is equipped to work out there. So rather than have our staff try to deal with the traffic on Butterfield Road, we're going to continue to have that contractor perform the pruning of those nearly 600 trees that are within the Butterfield Road right-of-way. The city currently, community development uses a certified arborist that they use for like reviewing private development plans and landscape plans and that. Over the years, Public Works has also piggybacked onto and utilized that arborist at times when we've needed advice on different projects or individual trees, and we propose to continue to do that. That's a relationship that community development and the city already have with an arborist that we trust, and so we're going to propose as needed to continue to utilize that certified arborist. So the big change to what we're doing is the tree planting, the parkway tree planting. Currently, we don't have a program where the city funds parkway tree planting. We don't replace trees that get taken down. The residents have the opportunity to pay for a tree to get planted in the parkway, and the city will buy that tree then with that money, and Public Works staff will plant the tree, and the resident would be responsible for watering it. Moving forward, we're proposing that staff would budget an extra $25,000 in the budget of the general fund to fund planting approximately 125 trees a year. And that'd be 100 new parkway trees that don't exist today. And then 25, we're estimating 25 replacements of parkway tree removals that we do each year. And that removal item is gonna vary from year to year. It might be 5 one year, it might be 40 another year. And our intent is to replace any trees that get removed each year. But for purposes of budgeting, we had to estimate something, so we estimated 25, which seemed like a reasonable number. Then we're proposing to plant 1 to 2 inch diameter trees, which is smaller than the typical trees you might see in a subdivision. Those tend to be like 2.5 inch to 3 inch diameter trees. And the reason for doing this is the smaller trees tend to acclimate faster to their new environment. They recover quicker from the shock of the transplant. They're easier for Public Works to handle in terms of planting them. They come in containers as opposed to balled and burlapped. And they require less watering by the residents. And the residents, as we go through this program, are still going to be a key component or key partner in this. If they want a parkway tree in front of their house, the city will pay for it and do the work, but we're going to need them to still water the trees because they're right there. City doesn't have a water truck that's going to go around and water things. And then as far as the place we'll start the new program, we're looking at Summer Lakes. There's a stretch of Continental Drive that Continental Drive is a fairly wide road for City Road. Between 59 and Johnson School, there are surprisingly few trees in the parkway there. I would estimate less than 5 in that stretch, and it's nearly a mile stretch of road. So we're estimating we could plant 100 new parkway trees just in that stretch. It would be an opportunity for staff, without having to coordinate with a lot of residents the first year, to get the process in place to work with the nurseries that we're going to be working with to purchase the trees, get them delivered and plant them, and then our intent would be to plant those in the fall of next year, so fall of 2023. There'd be initial watering, but then the following summer, we'd monitor them, and as they need to be watered, we would have summer help out there with watering them with hoses that we connect with the fire hydrants that are in the area, and just do that as necessary. We'll monitor the weather and keep an eye on them. And then from there, we plan to continue in year 2, working through Summer Lakes. We're going to try to work our way through town in an organized way and not like just start in the northwest corner of town and the south. We're going to try to work through so we can. I don't know how far 100 trees will take us. So 100 trees might take us a couple of blocks. 1 year, it might take us like several blocks the next year, depending on the interest from the residents. So it will allow us to, when we cover the area, to ask, to initiate contact with the residents and gauge their interest. we can cover a little bit larger area, and then we will stop where the 100 trees stops, and then next year we'll pick up where we left off and continue on. So with that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Okay, Jean Marie, would you like to make your comment now?
Jean Marie Cow, 3 South 710 River Road, and I am Chair of the Environmental Advisory Commission. And I think I can speak for the commission when I say that we really strongly support this measure. Kathy Davlos is on the commission with me. There's several comments I wanted to make. Trees increase housing values. They improve the looks of the city, and I agree that that area over by Johnson School could use some more trees. They're also really important for pollinators, our native pollinators, and especially species of caterpillars that feed our native songbirds. Doug Ptolemy talks about how we can really help our local wildlife by just planting some trees. It's also important with climate change. It helps with the heat island effect, and it decreases electric bills in areas where it's shading a house or other building. I also want to say that I agree with the 1 to 2 inch of caliper of tree. I mean, even just from my own experience, I know this is endorsed by arborists, but also from my own experience, those trees do tend to recover more quickly. And then also targeting areas that have less tree cover. I think that's really great idea. It may be an instance even of environmental justice. The one measure I would ask us to look at is I would recommend that all the trees on the list be native. Ginkgo trees in particular host 0 species of caterpillars, whereas a white oak, over 500 different species of caterpillars, which is a really good thing for our songbirds. And there are plenty of other varieties of oaks or other trees that would be native. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alderman Widener, do you want to talk about the, you came up with this budget request. Do you have anything you would like to?
Sure. First of all, I want to take a minute just to thank City Administrator White and Public Works Director Kukler for sitting down. We had a very productive meeting, about 2 hours. I think we talked about trees and how they can improve the city's look and also functionality. They're like our little air conditioners along the streets. If we view them as a utility, if we view them as aesthetically, they're artwork and filled with beauty all times of the year, even at Christmas time when the lights are in them. So I appreciated that. I think what staff came up with closely paralleled to where I was trying to go with my proposal. I like what staff is recommending. I do have I think 5 minor suggestions for improvement or things that you might want to be considered. And number 1 would be to improve data collection. I think in some cases we haven't been necessarily great about tracking the varieties and the species that we both take down and plant. I'd like to see that moving along. I think communication with the residents, now that we have a communications manager, director, I think that could be greatly improved on to state the benefits of the trees and to also enlist voluntary help from residents in watering and caring for them and helping to raise their property values, those kinds of things. So I'd like to see the communications improve with that. Also, I think, when we redid the logo, we, really liked the tagline naturally. And I think, developing a program with a theme and kind of, I don't know if I call it a battle cry, but some kind of resounding theme that we can, set our sights on. Warrenville is very proud to be a tree city, I think dating back to Mayor Lund. She was always a cheerleader for the natural environment and for beautifying the city through botanicals and tree planting and things like that. So I think if we could somehow utilize, a theme to enlist interest with the residents, that would be great. Also, I would really like to keep the EAC involved. They were very supportive of this program. As I made my suggestions, they made great suggestions and offered their help. So I think as we move along, particularly with communications and revising ordinances, I think they would be very instrumental and very happy to help out in those areas. And I think my final recommendation would be, I know I kind of overshot the mark asking for $100,000 for this program, and I know the city staff is recommending $25,000, and I would really encourage staff to bump it up a little bit, because from the little bit that I've investigated, Morton Arboretum houses the Chicago Regional Tree Initiative. Every year they give grants, matching grants to cities up to $30,000. I'm not certain the city could get a matching grant for that total, but I think, you know, setting that bar at $30,000, you never know, we might pull off a miracle and get $30,000 for a matching grant for trees. So I would like to see the budget amount bumped up a little bit, and then also the city staff remain aggressive trying to find grants for planting trees, because I think this is coming to the forefront. I think there's both federal grants and these other grants that are becoming more and more available and accessible now to municipalities. So those are my suggestions for improving it. And again, I thank staff for their efforts in this area.
Great. Thank you, Alderman Widener. We very much appreciate your devotion to this item. It's very important to you, and we appreciate it. Alderman Goodman?
Thank you. I really appreciate the EAC representatives being here and helping us with their expertise on this. I also reached out to Warrenville and Bloom today, which is another local source of expertise that we might be able to tap into for community support. And I know paying arborists is very expensive. I was able to reach a couple of Warrenville and Bloom members today to ask for feedback on the tree list, and they echoed what Jean Marie talked about in terms of native trees. They didn't necessarily have a problem with this list, but they would like to see more native trees on the list as well. I think one of the other types of feedback that they passed along had to do with, as part of the larger pruning going on in the community, when ComEd is pruning trees, that can often impact the aesthetics of trees, and if they prune it back to such a degree that it looks ugly or lopsided, that there are towns that have policies about the removal and replacement of those trees. And we might want to consider that kind of pruning as part of this program, reach out to ComEd or other cities that already have existing policies about that, because we don't have to reinvent the wheel. And if the Warrenville and Bloom members are aware of these policies in other cities, then I'm sure staff would be able to get a hold of them. So sometime in the next week, between the committee meeting and the city council meeting, they would love it if someone reached out to them for input. I sent them the email around today, and they were like, oh my gosh, no time to consider this. This is such short notice, but they do have until next week, so hopefully we can reach out to them if staff is able to do that. Also, I just want to second all of Alderman Widener's excellent suggestions. I think I would be comfortable changing the motion right now to $30,000 if that might mean any additional chance of matching funds. It seems like a very reasonable request to me, particularly when I look at some of the math here. I know the Public Works Director was talking about having to estimate 25 tree replacements per year, but you know, it's pretty clear over the last decade, the average number removed in a year is 58. It's a little bit more. So having some additional budgetary flexibility, even just the difference between $25,000 and $30,000 might help make up the difference if we do have more tree replacements than we currently are envisioning. I know that the big die-off due to some of the recent, Dutch elm disease and emerald ash borer and so on, may have passed through, and hopefully we don't have big tree die-offs like that in the next few years, but it's unpredictable. We just don't know. So I think estimating 25 when the numbers are 58 is maybe a little too low. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Davalos.
Thank you. Yeah, this is exciting. First of all, I just want to thank Public Works, Phil, and your staff. When we sort of were talking about your meeting here in December last winter, I think, or spring, and you said you were going to do this presentation, I had a list of questions, like a page, and there was some trouble getting data and different things, and I just want to say, I really smiled as I read through this, because the majority of my questions were answered by the research everybody has done and the data they have somehow found. And this had to be a lot of work for your staff. And so it's been very helpful to me and also very exciting, because I think we were farther along and people were thinking ahead of themselves farther along or in the future more than I realized. So I think this is a good proposal. I have just a couple of little questions about it. But the first one is, I know we've talked about native trees, but I've been on the EAC now as the liaison from council for several years, and I keep hearing about the changes in the trees because of climate change also. And sometimes it's a little shocking to me when I hear these things, and there's been a lot of research done. So I'm thinking somebody on your staff or somebody can go through and also look to make sure that these species not only have more native, but that they're going to do well in the years and decades and centuries ahead, well, not centuries, ahead, so that they'll be healthy. I have, I've heard some of it, but there are people that really know what that is, and I think the EAC could help on that if that's needed, but it has been a topic that I've heard talk about quite a bit, that we could be in a little shock down the road as some of these trees aren't going to make it. So anyway, my second thing is about the finance and the longevity. So you mentioned in your backup that this is a 10-year plan, that you're sort of thinking in 10-year increments. So you talked about 1,000 trees, so that's the 100 to 125. And so first thing, will that be, so we're just voting for 1 year. And so I guess we're sort of leaving it open to see if we need more money or whatever. I'm not asking to vote for 10 years, but it is stated as a decade. So I think, will it come up at each budget and it'll be part of what we vote on? And how are you envisioning continuing this financially? I mean, bringing it to the council every year?
No, so once we get direction to put in the budget this year, my intent would be to bring it back, just put in the budget each year.
Okay,
And
so
it'd be
it's
part-
automatic.
It'd be a line item in the budget that would clearly indicate it.
Okay, great, that's good. Also, I like the idea of how you drilled down that area on Continental needed the trees. And so going forward, are we talking just about parkway trees or any trees that might be on city property?
It's all city trees. We're focused on parkway trees.
But you're
yeah.
focusing on Parkway.
Yeah.
And so you would go ahead and do that discernment to see, obviously now we have data and all that, that mapping you were talking about that's been done. And so we'll be able to establish which areas are maybe short on trees or need more of a canopy, and that'll be part of this discernment process?
Yes, and we're starting in Summer Lakes. There's also there's talk of tree equity, which is lower socioeconomic areas, and Summer Lakes is one of those areas in the city. So I think starting on Continental and then working our way through Summer Lakes, and Summer Lakes is a big area, so I'm not sure how quickly we'll work through Summer Lakes, but probably at this point working up the Fox Hollow and then Maple Hill eventually too, as
Okay.
far as just trying to keep in a consistent logical path instead of jumping around the city.
Yeah, I think that's great. And, yeah, I think that was it. So, I think you guys, I think you incorporated some of the best parts of Alderman Widener's proposal. And I think, to me, it looks like we have enough space here to either add more money or to move things around, but to basically be on the track that's individually good for our city. And I know there's that list of all those other communities that are in the consortium and all that, but after listening to some staff people, I think I really approve of us doing it our way, because I think our staff knows, and it can be down to particularly what we need and what we can afford. So I think that was taken into consideration, so thank you.
Alderman Goodman?
I'd like to make the a motion, if there aren't more comments or questions. And I am going to make one that is slightly different than the committee action requested, just for the clerk to keep track of that, but in the same vein that we've discussed here. So I will make a motion to recommend the City Council direct Public Works staff to continue pruning 20% of the non-Route 56 Parkway trees each year, to include an additional $30,000, not $25,000, of general fund dollars in the fiscal year 2024 budget to plant new parkway trees. And I said new parkway trees and not specifying a total of 125 so that there is no limit specifically. And 3, to continue utilizing the consulting certified arborist who reviews development plans for the city.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Goodman and a second by Alderman Davalos. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Number 6, consideration of the Veterans Memorial renovation. Public Works Director Kugler.
Thank you. The Veterans Memorial is due for renovation, as several components of it are either in need of repair or replacement. The estimated range of costs for those repairs would be between $100,000 and $250,000. Staff is proposing to perform that renovation in the calendar year 2024 with the resurfacing of Stafford Place and the City Hall parking lot. I plan to bring this back in June at the Public Works and Infrastructure Committee meeting to request council to assign 2 aldermen to work with staff to finalize a scope of work for the renovation. And ultimately, the scope needs to be finalized by about a year from now. So I anticipate coming back in October or December of next year to present this back to council, what the work group recommendation would be, and with the intent of putting that in the budget then for the fiscal year 2025. Ultimately, staff's going to, well, once we start this process with the work group, would also communicate with the VFW to talk through some of the stuff that we're proposing and to see if they have any input, and we'll keep the Park District in the loop on what we're planning to do. Ultimately, Summer Days is in the middle of the construction season, so we're going to plan to either do the work before, so it's complete before Summer Days, or start it after Summer Days, so we avoid that conflict. And with that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Alderman Lockett?
No questions, just comments. I get more comments about this Veterans Memorial than anything else. And I can tell you that before I was here on this council or even the Plan Commission, that I was looking over there thinking that something needed to be done with that. So I think this fits in perfect with the resurfacing. I think it fits in really nice next to the trailhead that's finishing up, and everything's going to get a facelift over here. So I'm definitely for it, and I'm glad that it's in the works. Thank you.
I'd also like to make a comment that I am the liaison to the Tourism and Arts Commission, and we have been talking for the last year regarding a sculpture to replace actually the water fountain that's there, because the water fountain is just kind of falling apart at this point. There's really nothing that can be done with it. It's started to, it just looks really bad, and they can't fix it anymore. So they can't make it look nice. So we've been working very hard on that, and that's something that we had in the plans for the next 2 years ourselves. So that's, I just wanted to let the people know that also. Alderman Goodman?
No, I'm in complete agreement. I think having the TAC Aesthetic Enhancement Program here in such a focal point of our community would be a perfect spot for the next project. I think we've received community feedback, including from former Mayor Lund, who's come in a few times to make public comment about the city needing to pay attention to this area and revamp the current memorial area. So I'm strongly in favor of this project, and I would like to make a motion to recommend the City Council endorse the Veterans Memorial Renovation Plan described in Public Works Director Kukler's December 6, 2022 memo.
Second.
A motion by Alderman Goodman and a second by Alderman, Krusel. Okay, I wasn't sure who said that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. The final item is the review and file Public Works Department FY 2023 Work Program and Decision Package Status Report. This is information only. Does anyone have any questions at this time regarding Alderman Davalos?
I don't have a question, but I just have a comment, and that is on the first page, I can't see this clearly. T1-14, where it talks about implementation of the fourth phase of the Public Works Reorganization Plan. And I just want to say congratulations to Public Works. When we got that plan, it was, to me, I looked at it, it was monumental. It involved a lot of things, including staff, including changes of how it was organized, including just a lot of details. It was like a long number of items. And while it's not totally completed, it is really well underway and functioning, and we have great staff that's come on board, and we've had people working in different ways, much more efficiently because we put some things in place. And so I am just, as I look back, when I read it, I go, wow, this group did an amazing job. And council was voting, you know, we were helping here, but you guys were doing it. So I think it's a great plan. I think things work smoother than they used to work, and it makes sense what we put our money into and the positions that we organized or the positions that we established, whatever. So I just want to say again, you guys have a lot on your plate. And I think all the aldermen here are thrilled to be able to support that, but somebody has to do it. And so as I read through the list, it's like, wow, we did it, or you did it, or we all did it. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, good. We have, that completes the business of the meeting. We have nothing under miscellaneous, and all we need is a motion to adjourn. Alderman Lockett?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes, and we are adjourned, and thank you very much.
This conference is